to Joy of Business Radio, hosted by Joy of Business facilitators from around the world, with special shows from Simone Milasas, the founder and creator of Joy of Business. Are you bored or dissatisfied with your work or business? Joy of Business is an invitation to a completely new way of creating. Did you know your business and job can actually be fun and joyful? If what you are currently doing isn't working for you, listen into this show full of pragmatic tools from Access Consciousness, which change everything in business, from money to finance, staff, creativity, productivity, communication, and beyond. Joy of Business Radio, weekly on OMTimes Radio.
Hello and welcome to Joy of Business. Today I have actually, my name is Laleh Alemzadeh Hancock and I'm one of the Joy of Business facilitators, and we are here to be a contribution to the Joy of Business with Simone Milasas. And with me is my dear friend, Dr. Lisa Cooney. Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Laleh, and hello, everybody out there, all you Joy of Business fans. I'm so excited to be here, and how much fun can we have, and how easy can it be?
I am so looking forward to it. So they used to say we used to hijack the show from Simone, and we loved it so much that we actually made it now for the Joy of Business facilitators. And our topic for today is the myths of hiring. And it's so funny how it turns out that way, that you get an idea for a show, and then everything that comes up between the time that you name it that and the show to all the different things we could talk about. Yeah, lots of employment, lots of things with hiring, lots of things with staff issues, lots of things with all sorts of things I've been hearing about in the last couple of weeks. So really excited to be here with you, Lisa.
Yeah, for sure. One of the... Go ahead.
Yeah, since we're actually new to the show, let's introduce ourselves just so everyone knows us a little bit. I'm Laleh Alemzadeh Hancock. I'm a management consultant. I also am a Joy of Business facilitator and the CEO of Belapemo and Global Wellness for All. Been having a lot of fun the last 30 years doing lots of different things in businesses, not-for-profits, the government, and really working with individuals who desire to have more in their lives. So, Lisa, would you like to just for a moment maybe share a little bit of your background with people?
Sure. Well, my name is Dr. Lisa Cooney, and I am licensed in the psychology field with a myriad of different degrees, as well as the energy healing field. And my LLC is called Live Your Roar, ROAR, which is Living Your Radically Orgasmically Alive Reality. And you can consider me a consciousness coach, a business coach, a personal empowerment coach, moving you beyond your limitations or constrictions in any area of health, wellness, and finances. And I have a subspecialty in different types of moving people beyond abuses, and like financial abuse, emotional abuse, the more dramatic terms abuses such as sexual abuse, etc. So that's a little bit about me, and I know a lot about behind the scenes and putting all that stuff out in front of the scenes. So that's why I'm excited about being here today, because the myths of hiring, oh my God, if these walls could talk, I think I've done every myth, and maybe still doing a couple of them myself.
Well, you know, it's funny, actually being a management consultant, you would think I actually contribute to those myths, you know, coming into organizations, telling them who they should hire, who they shouldn't hire, the things that they need to go through. And I realized 8 years ago when I started my management consulting company, truly how much all of us, like learn through books, learn through business school, learn through doing best practices of really all the pieces in hiring the right person for you, right person for your company, right person for the project or whatever it is. And yet, one of the highest reasons that most organizations do have problems or aren't successful or their products don't grow or their services don't grow is actually because they haven't hired the people that are really the fit for the business. So I wanted to bring you here because you and I have had so many of these conversations about staffing and really how we create our businesses to be so different than what the, best practices out there would tell you to hire people. So I'm curious, what are your myths? What do you think are some of the myths of hiring?
Oh, gosh. Well, a couple of them, something like a solid resume will answer all of your questions.
Yeah.
That's a myth. Yeah. The perfect candidate is out there. If you look hard enough, just do a little bit more, they're right out there. Or if you're in an interview and the interview answers will tell you everything you need to know about the candidate. Those are like three things that come right off the top of my head. But really, as I even say them, they just have this energy of, if you will, a disconnection from the actual business in and of itself. So it's like one of the things I put on my Facebook page as I was getting, closer to the time for this show today was, what if you listen to your business and asked your business and took your business out for coffee essentially and like you would a friend and be like, hey, business, like for me it would be live your roar. What could you tell me? What do you require? What do you desire? What projects, what people, what question can I ask of you to show me and direct me where to go, what my next move is? It's kind of like a chess game, but it's a chess game through asking questions and awareness and then moving with that energy instead of, or as an adjunct to, some of the more form structure type things that we know about for running business. Does that give you something to chew on there?
Yeah. And, you nailed it. One of the things that people are told is that if you have exactly what you're looking for defined, you put it in a post somewhere online, whether it's on your website or somewhere else, letting people know you're looking for that person. You might look internally, depending on the size of your organization. And then you go through the interview process. And really, a lot of recruiters and a lot of HR, they're looking for the buzzwords for what the person said they needed in this job. And then they're really out there searching what resumes can give them that as a match. And there is some of that does apply. I actually used to be a technical recruiter back, many years ago, more than 15 years ago. And it is, there is some to that, but it's not all of it being defined that way. Like you said, I think some people would be like, Lisa, what are you talking about? What do you mean talking to the business? Because I guess some people aren't even there yet. But it
right.
It's like a lot of times the ideas we get of where we actually want to go is that there's information coming from lots of different sources, including the project or the business or whatever it is that you're trying to grow. And one of the things that I found is a lot of times clients that I work with, even their highest level executives, are hired assuming that they can do the job, assuming that because they did something similar somewhere else, that they're going to be a perfect fit for what needs to be done here. And like you said, Lisa, each business is actually different. Each business requires different things. Each business would like to draw in different kinds of skills to help itself grow. So, I'd love for us to talk about, one of the things you and I talked about last week, which was your business you thought was going one direction, and the staff that you hired seemed to be very aligned with that. But you realized there were so many areas that weren't working and that you needed to completely change the direction that you were going.
Yes, very, very, very clearly. Now that I'm on the other side of it, it's very easy to talk about.
Yeah,
Not
I know
so
at
fun
the time
when I was in the middle of it.
Yeah.
But it was all one of those things, Laleh, that you're grateful for, because the change that is occurring now from back then is actually what grew my business for the future. And when I really got clear enough to look that what I was paying for wasn't actually getting done, and I was still paying even more to actually get what was never done, that's not actually growing, the business, because it's kind of like your business or your job should be something that's fun for you to create every day. And if it's not fun, why are you doing it? And so when it got to be that it wasn't fun to pay people, and that there wasn't, sometimes enough money to go around to pay everybody, then it started to not be fun. It's quite stressful. So what that triggered for me is having to look at the business differently. And it's kind of funny, but somebody who has a very deep business background kind of picked up on the energy of what was going on with my business, and they sought me out and asked me to, if they could kind of take over the behind the scenes and the business side of it, and walk me out of what I was in and create something completely different. And at the time, I didn't know what it looked like. I do now. But it was the best thing that the universe in a certain way could have provided for me in changing the direction of my business.
Yeah, and I get that so many of us, depending on what's going on, we're so involved in the what's not working that it's almost hard to see clearly of how to change the situation. And I know we're about to get on to our first break. So, yep. So you're listening to Radio, Joy of Business with Simone Millicis and the Joy of Business Facilitators. Talking to Lisa Cooney. We'll be right back after the commercial.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Join me, Tammy Adams, intuitive life coach and spiritual healer, for my new show, Karma Talk. Learn how to get rid of your karma so that you can start living the life you are meant to live. I am not going to tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. Join me on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time for Karma Talk on OMTime Radio.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool, and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back to OMTimes Radio, and you're listening to Joy of Business with Simone Millicis and the Joy of Business Facilitators. I'm Laleh Alemzadeh Hancock, one of the Joy of Business Facilitators, and today we're talking about the myths of hiring with my friend Dr. Lisa Cooney. So Lisa, we were just talking about your business and the things that it needed to change, and I get we also need to kind of share, what was it that triggered that you knew it wasn't working? Because I know, I met with a client 2 years ago, and they were a medical practice that had medical and dental, and it was an integrated medical and health practice. And when I went in to do some analysis of kind of like what's working, what's not working, because it was more financial to the reason he brought me in, I realized like for 15 years, he's been supplementing the business. Like to him, even though they were not able to pay their bills based on the income they were bringing in, he was still willing to not change things. And once again, the next month, he was still supplementing the income. So I'm curious, like, what was it? I know that someone approached you and all of that, but there's things that you naturally know are working or not working with your business. So what were some of the triggers for you?
Yeah, the trigger was I was supplementing more of the business. Also, the revenue wasn't coming in the way that it was. And then when we had our staff meetings and we would go over, here's what we would do, and we lay it out pretty clearly in the task and who was going to do what, because I did have a marketing and media team. I did have the admin team. I did have a graphic, and all this kind of stuff. And we would go over it, and everybody was working so hard, but nothing was getting done in a certain way. And when it was done, there were so many problems, like with Infusionsoft, let's say, there were so many problems setting up the email campaigns, or the payment links didn't work, or the graphics sent out the wrong this, that, and the other thing, and the funnels weren't set up correctly. And then it kept happening over and over and over again, and for months at a time, and you could only excuse that for, a little while. And let's say, not my best move, I excused it or wasn't aware of it or didn't quite believe what I actually fell upon when it became really clear to me that the people weren't working together, the teams weren't working together, and the communication style of all of us working together, it wasn't working, and it wasn't fun anymore. And to me, energetically, that's when all those kind of problems start showing up, the email campaigns. And then when I started seeing this happen week after week after week after week, and then month after month after month, and then I would have individual conversations with each team member, and we would be like on the same page, so to speak, and then we'd get back to the team meeting or the task at hand, and it wasn't done. I really had to look, can these people actually, that I was working with at the time, can they actually do what the business is requiring them to do? And can they do that by way of the energy of the business and myself as a voice of the business? And I kept getting that, no, they can't. They wanted to. They believed in it, but they actually couldn't do it the way that the business required and the way that I required. So it was like a 3 to 6 month process of having this other person come in and take over the business and the tasking out and the communication, and she was doing all of that with them, and then I would come on the team meetings after all that form and structure was kind of taken care of. And it started to lighten up and things started to get better, but 3 months in, revenue was still a problem, and some of those tasks, even though they were set out, weren't done. And then what we decided to do, because I couldn't supplement anymore, it was getting to the point where the business was telling me no, and I was telling myself no, that we did like a lights out kind of thing, where I give staff, a 30-day notice. I let them all go, shut the business down completely. It was really, really scary. There was a month period of time that I had never done anything like that before, and I couldn't have done it without this person either. And then I started seeing even more of the intricate web of like getting into the back end and what was going on. And I was like, oh my God, I wouldn't have been able to even make sense of this. No wonder why they weren't able to make sense of this. And it was just a mess. And then we went lights out, and then we did a heavy, really deeply intricate vetting process for the new team. And that was, that lasted up until about that 6 month period of time. And then we turned the lights back on and started from scratch again in a certain way.
Actually, Let me stop you there, Lisa, because there's a lot of these things I want to actually talk about because, you know, people would say, but you had everything, Lisa. You had someone who is dedicated to your marketing, and therefore they could have been able to do your marketing. You had a very expensive, dynamic tool, you know, Infusionsoft, who's supposed to do everything you're supposed to do. Like, you would have exactly what the myth of hiring is. People assume if I have someone who's talented or if I have someone who has the skills of what I need, they're just going to get it done. Or, you know, I see this so many times. People hire executives thinking, oh, my God, they were so good at doing X. Therefore, they will be amazing leaders to have everyone doing X. Where in reality, that doesn't mean because one person could do something for themselves that they're going to make great leaders either. And, you know, when you were talking about all of it, and wow, such a different world in the way you can even talk about it, you know, than before, like it really is a constant communication with your business to where your business is today, where the business desires to go, where you desired the business to go, and continuous communication with the staff of, are we headed in the same direction? You know, you can have staff meetings, people can know what they need to do and all of that good stuff, but doesn't mean, like you said, it ever even got completed. And one of the things that I like to do is actually, which has always been my style, and I thought everyone was doing it this way, but go beyond the resume, go beyond what people tell you they can do, and really ask, you know, can they really do this? Like, truth, can they really do what it is I'm asking them to do? And I want to take one step back. One of the things we talk a lot about with Joy Business, and even the conversation of talking to your business, because everyone's not comfortable with that anyway. They don't even know what we are saying when we say that. But it's like everything has consciousness, including the rock, including the plants, including the animals, including us. And the key is, are we willing to listen to the information that we're receiving? No, it's not a voice that your business has, but yet you get ideas, you get information, you get awareness. You'll have something that'll like pop in your head and you're like, okay, today I need to do this. Well, that's the key, is for every day, talk to your business, but also be willing for you to let go the projections and expectations that you have for what your business is, what your business is not, who's going to be your clients, who's not going to be your clients, who are going to be your staff, whether they're employees or contractors, and be willing to erase it and almost have a clean slate that you walk into every single day. And by doing that, what you actually do is you allow the business to have freedom to invite different kinds of people in, whether it's clients, staff, projects, technology, or whatever else it is. And I get that that's the piece, right? When the business was talking to you that way, you were listening, but you were also listening in a different way than you're willing to listen now.
Oh, absolutely. Well, one of the other myths, Laleh, was that, you know, I was believing what the other people were saying, and they were consistent, they were confident in what they were speaking about, what they can do. It made perfect sense, and I was like, yeah, that's what I need. And then it never translated into action. Or when it did translate, it was just like, wait, that's not what we talked about. That wasn't the energy. It never showed up in the way that I knew the business, you know, required. And then it became even less fun. And what was really interesting is I always thought, like, with business, you know, that it, like, everybody that you work with, you have to, like, really like and adore, and it's fun, and God, it's so great when you can. But I have to say that the person that came on for me, we had to, and help with all the business stuff, She was brilliant. Brilliant. And she had skills that I didn't to walk me through what she walked me through, because she really helped me that way. And I learned so much, and very different now. But we also butted heads a lot, and there were some, projections going on and difficulty there. And so another myth was like, you have to always like the person you're working with. Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know if I always liked the person. I think it's a myth that I was working with, doing what she was doing behind the scenes, but I definitely liked the result. And that was a myth for me that, if I just had my friend, working in my business, everything would be okay. Well, that's not actually true. Sometimes it's the people that you least suspect or would never choose are actually the people that the business requires, and maybe just for 3 or 6 months. And so I was asking the question, like, who or what could I invite to my business that would make this easier and more fun and better for the business, and easier for me? And that person came. In a lot of ways, it might not have shown up the way that I asked, that question, but it definitely showed up, and that person had my back hugely. And I'm so grateful to them for that. And for me, I love that, and for the business for being so accommodating to my stupidity at times.
Well, that question you asked is magic, and it's something we need to ask every single day. And, even if you don't know exactly what Lisa said, just saying who or what can I add to my life or to the business today that will be more fun or more ease or will create greater. So we're back to our next commercial. You're listening to OMTimes Radio, Joy of Business with Simone Millicis and the Joy of Business Facilitators. And my guest, Lisa Cooney, will be right back.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Looking for inspiration?
Want to be inspired?
Not sure where to go?
Find Mark and Kim every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Inspired Living.
Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual.
Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
When it comes to saving money, don't act like a baby.
Goo goo gaga.
Be the boss and make a budget.
I'm the boss, baby.
You're the boss of me.
I am the boss of you.
Are not.
M2.
Are not.
M2.
Need a little help?
Aren't you going to do any work?
I'm very busy delegating.
Create a personalized savings plan.
We could share.
You obviously didn't go to business school.
And get other tools and tips at feedthepig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Joy of Business with Simone Millicis and the Joy of Business Facilitators. This is Laleh Alemzadeh Hancock, and my special guest for today is Dr. Lisa Cooney. Lisa, just what we were talking about, oh my gosh, I remember so many situations just like that where, somewhere we learned in, growing up being good little girls or something that we have to like everybody. And it's one of the biggest judgments in the world because it's not about liking or not liking, because usually we have judgments to why we like them or why we're not willing to like them. But having the willingness to ask, what does my business require today, or what does my business desire today? What can I add to my business today? We will have people that will show up in our lives. You know, it could be through an ad that we put in. It could be that we bump into somebody on the street. You know, you never know. And it looks different than you can imagine, just like you did. You asked a question, you put it out in the world, and this friend of yours that showed up, that became your consultant, that guided you and also encouraged you to look at things you weren't willing to look at, could have some, you know, headbutting, no matter what. But one of the things that I realized, and even in my recent hiring with people, is that we usually have some expectations in our head. We're like, okay, we would like to grow the business. We would like it to have X amount of revenue, or we'd like it to grow by X amount of people, or we would like our project to go from local to global, or whatever it is that we're asking for. And somewhere in the back of our mind, we think we already know how it's going to happen. And that's one of the things I would encourage anyone, please, that is one of the myths. Don't have it all figured out, because what you're going to figure out doesn't even assume all the different possibilities that are available. You're just thinking of it from one linear perspective. And if you're willing to be asking constantly and every day, you know, okay, you want to have a target for where your business is going. And even that, ask the business what it is. Because I'll tell you, I was at a Joy of Business class in, I don't even know, it was like 3 or 4 years ago. And for 6 months, I'd been asking my business, you know, what would you like to look like? What would you like to be like? And what kind of revenue would you like to have? And the numbers that I had in my head were so different than the business. And it literally took me 6 months and being in the shower when I get my greatest inspirations, I got $50 million. And I can tell you, $50 million was nowhere where I had been asking or projecting the business to be. And it kept feeling wonky, because in my head, if we're talking about $500,000, or you're talking $1 million, or even $5 million was really where I was targeting. And if I'm targeting $5 million and the business is asking for $50 million, boy, are we totally off, totally different wavelengths, right?
Right.
So what if you are willing to ask the business, and not to stay in it and think that it's this hardcore number, because it's going to keep changing. But like, okay, business, you're desiring $50 million. What is required of me? What is required of the business? What is required of the staff of who we have today, or people we need to add that can get us there? You know, what actions can we put in place today that actually will bring that to fruition? And wow, my whole world shifted and changed, because I realized I wasn't even looking at the possibilities of A or B or C that could bring 50. I was targeting 1, 2, and 3 that could bring me maybe $1 million or $5 million. So it doesn't mean that it's wrong, but it just shows how different the targets are for me versus that of the business. And I got to tell you, there were some very uncomfortable moments, right, Lisa? They're not always fun, joyful, easy.
No, they're not, for sure. But it's like, I love what you said about the misalignment between what the business was asking and what you were hoping, you know, with the $1 million and $50 million. It's like, how many of us just go in our everyday and we're like, okay, I need $4,000 to pay this month's bill, and instead of saying, okay, what would the business like, which is like $400,000 or $50 million or whatever it is. It's like we always ask for just what we need right in front of us versus expand it beyond and really listen in to what the business is requesting. It's like what I did with the staff. Once I actually took a look at what was happening and let this other person guide me through this process, I was able to actually ask different questions and invite different possibilities and actually invite better revenue and more revenue and a much larger revenue than I even knew at the time was possible. And how does it get any better than that? But we have to be willing to look and actually take action. Once you look and acknowledge what's going on, and then take action with that. Most of us look, we see what's going on. We might take, a small kind of a Band-Aid action or a lateral move, but what would it be like to actually take the action that would create, whether you knew it or not, that possibility, your whole world opening up to something like 50 million, where the 50 million could come by way of the best marketing and media companies or the best administrative or executive assistant or the best personal assistant or the most amazing product. Like, you never know how it's going to show up unless you actually acknowledge, what's going on, what needs to change, and what the business is saying to you. And that's one of the biggest things that I got is like, I had to apologize to my business. I know it sounds really weird, but I had to apologize to my business for not listening to it and for not allowing it to be as big as it would like to be, and not allowing the people who would like to play with me and play with the business to invite them into a different possibility, because I was focused elsewhere or not looking or not asking a question or just mired in, well, if I just keep paying them, they'll get it done eventually. It's like, oh, my God, where's the joy in that?
Yeah. And, one of the things that I want to clarify, too, because I sure the heck have done this many times myself, and a lot of times, especially if we started the business ourselves, we have the tendency of not allowing the business to be itself. We say, my business. Just the words of my business, we literally limit anyone who can come and be that contribution to the business, whether it's staff, whether it's clients, whether it's partners we can add to it, whether it's different funding, different income sources that we can add to it. So just by changing the way you even communicate with the business, each of your businesses have names. If you're willing to honor that and call them the business or the name of them. So mine, one of them is Belapemo. One of them is Global Wellness for All. Like, I stopped saying my business, and wow, it made it to where it no longer had to be me who dealt with everything that had to do with the business or all the problems that just seemed to funnel through to me to fix. It was about empowering me and empowering the staff, so that they can use their awareness, their ideas, their creativity to not only solve the problems when there was something that needed some extra assistance, but to really look into not just the now of the business, but be willing to also look at the target of where the business is going and where they can contribute to it and who they can add to the business to allow us to really reach the targets that we have. And I know it sounds silly to some people because it's like, oh, it's just a word. But actually our words are very powerful. And what we say and what we think is what we create. So even being willing to look at the business from a different place and say, okay, the business was this today. Today, okay, I'm going to bed. Now I'm going to destroy it and create everything that I thought this business is. And I'm going to allow it to have a clean slate tomorrow. And then just keep asking the questions again and again. What do you desire? What do you require? Who can I speak to today that will allow us to actually, hit the targets or whatever it is? You want to just keep asking and being in the question.
Yeah. What would it take to be the invitation to clients? What would it take to be the invitation to staff? Like now, like what would it take? Like really opening up those questions, like they're key factors to me in attracting and hiring, the talent that I'm searching for. And, you never know where it's going to show up. I mean, I met my coordinator at a workshop when I first moved to Dallas, Texas here, and I never knew her, and we didn't actually hit it off, and she kind of looked at me a little funny, and then she helped me put a taster together in Dallas about a year ago, and she loved what I was doing and what happened that night, and she called me up the next day, and she says, I know we're going to be working together. Let's have a conversation. And she's been with me ever since and has done the best for the business and as a coordinator out of anyone before, not knocking down anyone before, but like she really got the energy of the business from whatever she witnessed that night in that taster and putting herself forward and hosting that taster. And then from there on, it's just been history. And even today, right before the show, on Mondays and Thursdays, well, we can do a lot virtual, but on Mondays and Thursdays, we are live with each other, speaking to the Live Your Roar business, working on behalf of the Live Your Roar business. And we're actually laughing and having a lot of fun and, getting frustrated together and asking questions and how can we change this? And, she holds my feet to the fire when I want to just be like, okay, I'm done. She's like, no, we got to do this. And if she gets frustrated, I'm just like, no, we got to do this. What can we ask? Maybe we need to go get something to eat or go for what? And it's fun. But we're listening to the business. And then we've attracted this great marketing and media team. But sometimes when we have our meetings twice a week also, it can be very task related. And then there are these moments that we have these conversations about deep, consciousness, empowerment stirring things. And we share personally that just fuels the business. It happens spontaneously. And it's not like, a big drama talk, but it's just like beautiful. And then it's just like, oh, the business has really, I can really look back now and look at what I have and what we're creating for the future and be like, the business really required this.
Awesome. All right. We're taking our last break for Joy of Business with Simone Millicis and the Joy of Business facilitators. We're talking about the myths of hiring, and we'll be right back after these commercials.
Feed your soul with Waves of Consciousness on OMTimes Radio.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Have you been searching for a perspective beyond the mainstream? Check it out. Join your hosts Cielito Pascual and Diana Gold Holland on Share International Radio for thought-provoking views behind the news, Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio. You can also find us at shareontheairradio.org. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Welcome back to Joy of Business with Simone Millicis and the Joy of Business facilitators. This is Laleh Alemzadeh Hancock and my special guest, Dr. Lisa Cooney. And we're talking about the myths of hiring. Lisa, I could have this conversation with you for the next 10 hours because there's so many different pieces I want to talk about. But since we only have another few minutes left together, one of the things that I really want to talk about is where I see most people have where the miscommunications start from the beginning. And want to talk about deal and deliver. It doesn't mean it's a contract between two people, but really getting a good feel of, what is it that is the deal between us? What is it that the business requires, and what pieces this particular person is going to be able to assist you with in actually creating, which pieces are going to be fun for them, and talk about the money and all this other good stuff. So what about the deal and deliver? You want to talk about that?
Sure. How people are going to show up and do what they do. Or what they do. Well, God, there's so much I can say about that, but it's just there's a clear agreement between two people about here's what I'm going to do. What exactly do you expect of me when I do it? What does that actually look like? And you get really, really clear with what you're asking the person to be and do, and what you're willing to be and do with them. Because what they say is basically what to do. Okay, it's kind of like, what's the deal? What are you going to deliver? What do you expect me to deliver? Exactly what is that going to look like? Exactly how is that going to work? And exactly what do you expect of me? Notice how many times I say exactly. It's like, that's the 6 or 7 part model that I have worked with, to just put it out on the table. So it's like, here's the deal. This is what the business requires. Is that fun for you to do? And how are you going to deliver that? And then what do they expect you to deliver, as well as what do I expect of them to deliver? And how would that look like? Is it in, actual work? Is it in hours? Is it in product? Like, what is it going to look like? And what are the expectations? Most people, when they don't have that, they do the micromanaging, which is the destruction of the creation in your business instead of the generation and actualization of what you're attempting to create in your business. So is that a little bit about what
Yeah. And I get a lot of people, there's so much miscommunication around this. And including me, there's so many pieces to it. So one of the things that I recommend for people who are listening to this, whether it's live or down the road, clarity for both of you and honesty for both of you. It's about you listening to you. Before Access Consciousness, I would have said, listen to your gut instinct, How does your body feel when you actually are asking these questions and you're getting information? I mean, if it feels really fun, it feels like totally, for me, it's almost like bubbles throughout my body. It's a good thing, but when you have tightness in your stomach, or something just doesn't feel right, or, just feels tight, there's something wonky about what you guys are talking about, address those items. One of the things that I have found is a lot of times we are looking for X, like he said, maybe we're looking for a marketing person who could do X, Y, and Z, and the business requires marketing X, Y, and Z. A lot of people think they're actually going to be able to deliver on what you're asking for. And they're used to working with people who said, you have to do X. And they say, yes, I will do X for you. But in reality, it doesn't mean that X is something they actually even enjoy doing. But they're willing to do it for the money or for the aim of that's what they have to do. And what I've found is I actually just added 2 new team members to my team in the last month. And I was looking for more promotional social media and things of that sort. And I was talking to someone about it, and they were so excited about that. And they said, you know what? I actually really like what you're creating. And what if I was able to assist you in other things that you have going on? And I actually asked a lot of questions, because that's who I am. I'm a very curious person, and out of my curiosity, I love asking questions, and it gives me a lot of awareness and information. Now, I knew right off the bat that there's things that they know how to do today, and there's many, many things that I require that they don't even know where to get started. So it would require more of me to make sure that I'm guiding them, I'm training them, or whatever else is required. And if I were to look at their resume, I would never bring them on board, because based on the resume, they're in the healthcare field. Like there's no connection in what they're doing today to what I would have asked for, other than their enthusiasm. They have the ability to be very talented around graphics and things of that sort, which would have worked around promotion and social media. But there's something about when we had our conversation that got me really excited. The level of enthusiasm they had about me, about what I'm creating, about their role in it, would actually allow me to bypass the resume and really look at the possibility of what will it create for me and for the business if we add this person to the team. And it was amazing. Mm-hmm. It was so expansive. Now, I got to work with her for a month, and there's things that I gave her some things were a lot easier, some things, there was a lot of technical difficulties and things of that sort. And I totally, I'm aware of their value. They're awesome. I love the energy they bring into it. But I'm also willing to constantly be in the ask of what does the business require, and will this be what they require? Do I require to change something? Do I require to change the person? And I would like to keep them on for certain projects, but there are those extra things that, as much as their enthusiasm's there, I probably need somebody, not me, who's that middle person who can guide them. Or I need somebody else who actually can do it with ease and total speed and total fun. You know what I mean? So, that's the piece, is also in the deal and deliver. You being willing to be honest with you of what do you really require or you think you require right now, and just know it's going to change. What are they willing to actually deliver today, the way they are today? What can they actually expand and create with you and the business? And knowing when you have to make the changes, no matter what both of you agreed upon day one. And where I see these being conversations that actually create greater is when you're willing to communicate with the other person along the way and you're willing to be honest along the way. Now, remember, what can they hear is something you want to ask too, because your idea of honesty and their ability to receive it may not always be the same thing. But it's constantly asking the question, which is what the business actually requires of you as well. For you not to assume you already have everything figured out, and to still be willing to constantly look at what's working, what's not working, and being willing to change it.
That to me is the most important thing, is to be willing to look at what's working, look at what's not working, and be willing to change it, to really listen in and be willing to change it. And every time I have done that, no matter how, quote unquote, scary it might have seemed or impossible it might have seemed, it has always worked out better than I imagined and better than I could have imagined. And always created new possibilities. Business has always expanded. So it's like, what do you have to lose? Well, your business if you don't listen.
Yeah.
But you actually have nothing to lose by expanding.
Exactly. And gratitude. I can't stress gratitude enough. I'm so grateful for everyone that's in my life and the businesses and people I interact with through other projects that I'm on, or random strangers I meet on the street, because every single person is contributing information, awareness. They're contributing their energy. There's so many ways of how we actually expand our lives as well as expand the businesses. And if we're willing to be grateful for all those people, even the people we think, oh my God, why did I hire them? Why did I bring them on? Be grateful for everybody, even if it worked out or not, because it brought you to where you are now. It gave you the awareness you needed, and everything creates more information. So, one of my mentors that I know you adore as well, Gary Douglas, founder of Access Consciousness, he says, choice creates awareness. your awareness does not create the choices. So you do have to take action and see what comes of it. You know, sometimes you just have to be willing to choose to get the information to know, do you need to keep it or do you change it? And that is the magic of growing a business, if you're willing to be flexible and constantly be in the question, and not from thinking everything's wrong, but just be willing to know every second things are shifting and changing, and you have to be willing to be that change of whatever is required.
Absolutely. I love that. And the fact that we're just speaking, I've been listening, you know, my business as we've been talking here, and my business feels all bubbly and happy. It's like, yeah, I've got some more to say. I got things to tell you just this radio show. You know, I got some more ideas. I got some more that you can ask, you know. There's some potency here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lisa. This is the end of our show, Joy of Business with Simone Milicis and the Joy of Business Facilitators. We're so grateful you joined us, and we look forward to having you here next week at 4 p.m. East Coast.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.